In order to test the material properties of the different types of fishing line, I first got 10-pound test braided fishing line, 10-pound test fluorocarbon fishing line, and 10-pound test monofilament fishing line. I also used a scale in this experiment, as well as a 5-gallon bucket and a 50-pound bag of sand with a measuring cup. Here I am seen tearing the scale for the measuring cup. Then I weighed the amount of sand in 1 full cup. This was my first test with the monofilament. As you can see, I have tied it to the 5-gallon bucket and I'm trying my best to slowly add sand until the line snaps. This tests material properties, including stress, strain, and elasticity. I am making note of how many times I need to fill up the measuring cup with sand until the line snaps.
Okay.
The monofilament snapped after 7 cups of sand, which is approximately 11.2 pounds. The observable material properties were that it was very stretchy, seemed to have a lot of resilience, and absorbed the shock every time I put the sand in the bucket. I knew from previous experience that braided would be the strongest, so we started from the point at which the last one broke, and as you can see, it took about another half cup in order for braided to break. Braided doesn't react to shock very well, but it is seen that it held up to 12 pounds in this experiment. This last test was the fluorocarbon line, which experienced similar physical properties to the monofilament in that it stretched and absorbed the shock well every time I put the sand in the bucket. I knew that the fluorocarbon would not be as strong, so I only started it at 5 pounds, and it took an additional 2 cups to break it, which means it held a total of 8.2 pounds. In this presentation, I'm going to combine my experimental data with some research that I did online on the different types of fishing line. Monofilament is the stretchiest of the 3 types of fishing line and absorbs the best shock. It is made from linear polyamides. It is said to be stronger than steel, more durable than polyester, with low density. So the low density just means that it's going to float in the water, so you have to attach a sinker. But it is the perfect combination between strength and durability. It has great line memory, so if you tie a knot in your line, it will stay there and you can use it as a guide for your next rig. So that's nice for consistency. And the recommended use is 2 to 20 pound test inshore or freshwater. I do want to clarify that pound test is not necessarily the pound of the fish that you're catching. It's more about the strength of the fish, because since they are buoyant, a 20-pound fish in the water is not going to need 20 pounds of force like it will above water. So that's a big disclaimer. You can actually catch heavier pound fish with 20-pound test line. Braided is the strongest of the 3 types of fishing line. It is made from braided daquan, which is a polyester fiber. It is very comparable to sewing thread. It has very low stretch. It has a thin, low surface area, which is really nice because for its recommended use offshore, it won't get swept up in the current. It will be less likely to get swept up in the current due to its low surface area, whereas monofilament is very thick and it will probably get swept up in the current because it's so thick. It has no line memory, and its recommended use is 20-pound test plus and offshore. Fluorocarbon is made of highly fluorinated carbon backbone polymers. It is very clear, so it is best used in clear waters because the fish won't be able to see it. Will just see the bait, and that's ultimately what you want. It is the most dense, so this is the only line that will actually sink in water without the use of a sinker. But it is the least strong, so its recommended use is actually at the end of a fishing line as a rig, which is what you put your bait on so that the fish cannot tell that there's anything wrong with the bait.